Top of the Tuesday, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on the Tuesday night. We're grateful to have you on this early bird special. Now, we're going to be back on later tonight. We're not sure of the guests just yet. Johnson may kill them all off before we get to them, but I'm just saying. No, we'll have another show tonight. It'll be a late night news show like we did last night. Good to see my buddy Brad Johnson in the house, intelreform.org. Man, do we have a lot to talk about with you. I leave you alone for 2 weeks, and all hell breaks loose in Washington, D.C., and big news I want to talk to you about tonight. It happened Friday as we were signing off. We wasn't on the air Friday. These things always happen on the weekend. and got up to the news Friday morning that John Bolton's house had been raided. The former UN ambassador, he worked in the Bush administration, worked in the Trump administration. I never did understand why Trump would bring him on his side, and we'll get a little bit of that in a minute. But it seems to me, and we sort of chit-chatted a little bit about this before the show started, it seems that the wheels of justice, though moving slow, are at least moving. And at least we're getting some progress toward finding out what happened. And I think we're both in agreement. I know that everybody is salivating for arrest, and I get it. And they're salivating for convictions, and they're salivating for jail time. I want the arrest. I'd love to see a conviction. But I think the bottom line is what you said beautifully before the show, that we cannot allow this to happen ever again. And they have got to be taken down in the courtroom and get them under oath to tell us the truth to the American people and at least neutralize them from doing it ever again. That's what I'm after in this, because my expectations are pretty low when it comes to our justice system in this country with these corrupt politicians, man. I'll just say it like that. What say you about that tonight? Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you as well, Chris. And yeah, complete agreement. We were chatting about it just for a couple minutes earlier. There's no question that the main goal here is to stop it.
Yes.
Just stop all this stuff. And if it can be a bunch of arrests or destroy some people politically based on some of the shenanigans they've pulled, then they deserve what they get. Let me say that first. And as far and just however far it goes, hopefully will be enough, because like I said, the goal is to stop it from happening, stop people from doing it a whole bunch. And it's one of the things that we've seen. I mean, in law schools, they'll start teaching all this stuff, and most of these guys are lawyers. So you remember we had that one prosecutor you and I chatted about before that went after the kids that played what was it, hockey, field hockey or something like that, and
turned out to be a false narrative.
Yeah. Right, and the prosecutor who buried a lot of exculpatory information that would clear them, he went to jail for it. And he was standing up there saying, this isn't justice, but it was precisely justice. And I can guarantee you one thing, in law schools across the nation, they're saying, well, as a prosecutor, there's a lot you can do, but whatever you do, don't do what he just did. So don't cover up the fact these guys are innocent, because you can go to jail for that stuff. So that was a big step forward, and that's exactly what we need to see here. And some of these guys get in as much trouble as possible. And they've been saying for a long time, we've had, the FBI and DOJ, and these people have been saying, look, these wheels grind slowly. We have to have an absolutely perfect investigation. That takes time. And so give us the time, just please be patient. And I think we're starting to see these things, start to come up. You're starting to see the fruits of these labors, if you will. John Bolton, go ahead. What were you going to say, Chris?
I was just going to not interrupt you, but I do want to say this, and I agree with everything you just said. I just want to ask you this question about him. Did you see this? Do you think this is leading to document situations and sedition, or maybe even treasonous behavior, overseas stuff? I know that, you've got some ideas about this, because, it was weird. I didn't see Bolton coming, to be honest with you. I expected the first arrest maybe to be the house of John Brennan or John Clapper, or, maybe Loretta Lynch or Obama himself. This caught me off guard Friday, honestly. And it just reeks that I don't think the FBI, and you can help me with this, would the FBI have done this unless they already had the goods on him? Or were they looking for something on a fishing expedition? Or do you think when they walked into that house, they already had the apple in the bag, so to speak? What's your thoughts on that?
I think in this case, they pretty much knew the answers to everything, and they were looking for evidence, to prove more additional proof of what they pretty much already knew. And I'll say, let me give a little bit of background on John Bolton. As a person,
Please do.
One of the things that we do as the operations guys out of the CIA is you're always assessing the personality of somebody. So John Bolton, he's not somebody I've met personally. I've been in events where he was there, and so I've heard him speak and been around him and things like that. But I knew a number of people within his organization, and It was one of the groups that I was looking at early on because my background's so strong in similar things, foreign affairs, those sorts of things. It was an organization that I flirted with a little bit, and like I said, met with a number of people out of his organization. So John Bolton, is clearly not a stupid man. He's an intelligent guy. He's not as smart as he thinks he is, but he's still pretty smart. I mean, he's not average, but he's not genius either. But he's a very bright individual. So he's able to see these things clearly and has a lot of good experience in things, and so has a perspective. But he's one of those individuals that being bright, he's used to being right. And in everyday circumstances, that's pretty normal. The smarter you are, the easier it is to be correct in everyday circumstances. But there's a lot of wild cards and variables out there that you can't predict. And what John Bolton has slipped into, and let me say about his organization, is he doesn't surround himself with the best and the brightest. He surrounds himself with good people, but he surrounds himself with the guys that are sycophants. They're not
right.
People that are going to challenge what he says. They're people that are going to go, oh, yeah, John, you're so brilliant, That's the greatest thing ever. Those are the types of people that he's drawn to around him. And so that's who he has. So that's the frame of mind of the individual that's there. When he went into the Trump administration the first time around, I think he was a big supporter. You had mentioned earlier, how did it happen that Trump brought him in? He was a big supporter of Trump's prior to the election. And so as the way these things work, he was rewarded and given a senior position in the administration. And always relating to foreign affairs because that's his area of expertise. Now, what John Bolton expected, I think, out of all of that was to come in and be the man and say, this is how we're going to do it. Now, you guys all fall in line. And President Trump, this is how we have to do it. Because he looked at Trump and said, this guy doesn't know anything about foreign affairs, which, was a fairly valid observation. But Trump is good at negotiation.
Yes,
and so he did, and that's one of the things Bolton is unable to understand about other people because of that frame of mind that he has. So he came in expecting to run the show and famously was having, verbal fistfights in the Oval Office with everybody else. Anybody who disagreed with him, he would go ballistic, and just was unable to tolerate different perspectives, assuming that he was the only guy that had any clues to what he was doing.
Makes sense.
And it's actually, if you look at FBI profiles, doctors are that type of personality. They just view the world as very black and white, and so they've arrived at their conclusion, and so anyone who disagrees with that is crazy or an idiot or to be yelled at or whatever. And that's actually an FBI profile type, and a lot of people don't realize it, but a lot of people that are doctors have gotten into terrorism because of that. Not Osama bin Laden, but his Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, the number 2. Those guys are actually medical doctors. And it's that frame of mind that lets them get into these extreme positions. So John Bolton is of that same ilk. So a lot of time just based on talking about just the personality of him, but it's apropos of kind of the situation as it moves forward. So he comes into the first Trump administration and starts to try and dictate to everybody how it's going to be, what foreign policy has to be, dictates to everybody, including the then Secretary of State, which, that, of course, the Secretary of State is the guy who's supposed to be in charge of foreign policy in most instances. So immediately you had these, like I say, verbal fistfights. So he ended up getting fired because he just was unable to consider the fact, just as kind of, if we're looking at Trump, let's look at Trump for a second coming into this. Trump is large and in charge. He's not going to allow somebody to dictate to him how things are going to be done. So first of all, John Bolton was kind of a dummy for going into the situation thinking that he was going to buffalo everybody into doing whatever the hell he said.
Right.
Right. That's strike one. And then strike two, was unable to take into account that Trump does have talents. He's not a dummy either. And these negotiation skills that he has are good. They're solid. So he would be negotiating with people in countries. Now, that's a tune he knows how to dance to. And Bolton is not as skilled in that area as Trump. But yet he wasn't able to adjust to that. Now, 2 strikes right there with Bolton. And that's what got him fired. But going forward, what happened? And here's the problem with the conservative movement in general. And this is something I've been around a lot. met many of the people involved in the conservative movement that they call themselves part of the conservative movement. And one of the reasons I've never been deeply involved with those guys is because they're all self-serving, all of them. There's very, very, very few, I would say, and only one comes to mind, that's from the Leadership Institute, in fact, that is a guy that's fairly, actually dedicated to doing the right thing, good stuff. And the rest of these guys are all just in it for themselves. And John Bolton is the perfect example of that. So what does John Bolton do? And this is a money game. When you're in charge of basically a giant think tank, you need contracts and money coming in and donors and all of that stuff all the time to push the policy issues that you think are important. So John Bolton is trapped in that. All of those guys are. They're trapped in that. So he has to have money flow all the time. So naturally what he's going to do, he's going to say, well, I'm the smartest guy in the room. I need money. I've got all this information in these documents. I can prove that this is that or the other. And I'm going to turn that into money. And if I have to do it overseas, I have to do it overseas. Nobody will catch me, that sort of thing. So I think he fell into that trap of needing money for his organization because, it feeds the ego of the man. And he's got plenty of ego to go around. So I think that's what got him in trouble. Now, the probably what got him in trouble and what I like about all of this is that, first of all, it's somebody who's a Republican out of this. So it's, they're going to treat everybody the same. And I think that's one of the first things that they're doing.
That's a good point.
This is an easy case because it's documented. So it's fairly easy to put together. So they're going to be able to go after the guy. It shows that it's not just, just Democrats. They're going after this guy. Now, he's badmouthed Trump for a long time. But what happened when he started badmouthing Trump? He jumped in bed with the Democrats.
Jumped in bed with the Dems.
And so that corruption, if you will, I think probably goes through them. And these connections that he made to sell this information and all of that, that's how Democrats do business all the time. I mean, they're scumbags. And so I think John Bolton got mixed in with that crowd, started seeing dollar signs, started thinking grandiose thoughts of himself and his organization, and needed the money to make all this come true and pay himself money and get that new, BMW or whatever it is that he wanted, or a bigger house or a fence, whatever it was. And fell into that trap with these guys, thinking that he was above reproach, above the law. And I think that's what's caught him. Now, as I said, the good point of this is I believe that it's probably just the tip of the iceberg. Yes. And so what you're going to see is this is a gateway back into all those Democrats that he's been doing business with now and been cooperating with against Trump. So it serves multiple purposes. I think it was a fairly masterful choice. I mean, I think it was well thought through. I mean, we'll see. The proof is in the pudding, and we haven't seen that yet. But I think that this was masterfully put together, well thought through. They picked somebody good, and it's going to make it easy. Oh, we were arrested a Republican, and it tracked us back to these 5 Democrats. Who knew? And now, we scarfed up those guys too as part of this investigation. So I personally am kind of the opinion that that's how this whole thing unfolded. I think John Bolton has shot himself in the foot and let his ego get the better of his judgment. And as I said, he's not a stupid man. He's somebody that, has said a lot of things that are really right on. But some of this stuff, like if you look at his statements in the last 2 or 3 days,
absolutely,
after his arrest about
helped.
Ukraine and all that, it's very black and white. There's no wiggle room or anything. Now, you got a guy like Trump, you throw that into the equation. Is Trump capable of negotiating something with Putin that Bolton doesn't imagine? And the answer is clearly yes. Will he? I mean, we don't know. But is he capable of doing that? Absolutely. The same thing with the president of Ukraine. Is he capable of negotiating something with that guy? I mean, I would say fairly easily. I think he could get something done there. And you look at Bolton, and he's like, this is absolutely not going to happen, and it has to be this way, and da-da-da. It's very, very black and white. Like I said, it's that FBI profile of a certain mindset that allows themselves to get into criminal activity like terrorism in most cases. But I think that's part of that mindset is what drug Bolton into this problem.
So you think this is more money than him being... I know there's... And I'll just throw these things out there, and you can sort of bring me back to reality. Look, I'm not a conspiracy kind of person. I'm a Southerner. We try to look at things through common sense lens and stay grounded as much as we can about this stuff. But I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that Bolton was planted, that, Bolton was undermining him, and there's no doubt that there was. I think your explanation makes total sense to me what happened. I never was a fan of Bolton under Bush, but I didn't hate him either. It wasn't like I was sort of nonchalant about him. He don't engender a lot of enthusiasm as far as charisma goes. He's got that harsh core to him, that harsh cover. But I never could, when I started listening to all the stories coming out over the last 48, 72 hours about what he's done. And look, the paper trail is money, Brad. When you get down to it, this is about money. I mean, he made $1.6 million as a federal servant. Man's got a $90 million wealth portfolio now, according to Forbes. I'm not just bringing that figure off the top of my head. That is a confirmed number by Forbes that his wealth has been reported as that. Well, you don't go from $1.6 million to $90 million. There's a lot of people in D.C. in this same boat, so I'm not just calling out John Bolton about it. But, bro, you know this. You don't get that by working at Buc-ee's. You don't get that by working at the Motel 6 as the night manager for $6 an hour after you get canned in Washington, D.C. There's some serious money. And I guess my question to you is, in the end of this, is this going to be about the dollar bill? And do you think that this is what's going to be his downfall? And then my second follow-up question to that is this. If he's not planted, who is behind this? And if you want to share names, you can. It's up to you. I mean, what Democrat is next? I'm hearing the Mitch Taylor, this Taylor guy. I hear Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Mark Elias. They're all there cackling. They're scared like a bunch of cackling hens on MSNBC the last few nights, screaming that Trump's a dictator. And I do want to ask you, do you believe that this is retribution? And honestly, I'm going to say it like Greg Gutfeld said it the other night. I don't care if it is. They started this. They're the ones that opened this Pandora's box, buddy. When they went to Mar-a-Lago and did what they did to Trump's home residence over this same issue, which is documents, okay? Because that's what they went to his Mar-a-Lago residence to claim that he had taken classified material. They opened this Pandora's box. That's not retribution to me. That's karma. There's a big difference.
Yeah, now, as far as being a plant, John Bolton is not a plant.
I didn't think he was.
He's a completely wrong type of personality. It's not something he would consider, because look at it from his perspective. If you're the genius of the universe and know all the answers and all of that, and somebody comes to you and says, hey, you're going to be my pawn in this game, and I'm going to put you in here to sucker in a bunch of people and do all that. I mean, that just is not something that would compute in his universe. So he's precisely the wrong type of personality for something of that nature, an operation of that nature, if you allow me to put it that way.
I get it.
As far as plant goes, no. Now, motive, money. It's absolutely money. Money and recognition is what he's after. And money brings recognition because you can buy it that way. So, yeah, the money is going to be his motive. Now, these papers, the classified information that he shared overseas that supposedly was paying him and all that, I mean, it's a little early to say too much about that, but let's just assume for the sake of argument that that's true. If that is true, his motive will have been money. I don't think he would purposely set out to do anything that would be treasonous. I mean, that's just,
Okay.
The people within his organization and the way they talk and view things it doesn't lean towards any of that. Now, that doesn't mean he couldn't be fooled. He's not an intelligence professional. So that's not his background. It's, foreign policy. So could you recruit a guy like that? That we would say unwitting. Could you and get information out of him that you want? Yeah, absolutely. You come up with some sort of cover organization that's probably real. You walk. If you're in charge of that country, you walk in with a gun, set it on the table, talk to the CEO, and say, "This is what you're going to do." The CEO is going to go, "Yes, sir."
Absolutely, he is.
Yeah, he would go to John Bolton's organization and say, "Hey, look, we got this commercial deal. We need to know this to know if we should drill over here or drill over there or whatever the issue is, and we'll pay you for it." And he would look at that as a straight commercial transaction. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. So, yeah, he's a guy that can be fooled in those sorts of things. He was foolish to have gone down that road if that's indeed what he did do. He should have been more cautious about sharing classified information with somebody for commercial purposes. But I think that'll be it. But I think,
Okay.
like I said, the interesting aspect of it to me is who made all those introductions. Were they witting? Were they aware? If this was the bad guys out there, who made that introduction? Who was that? Who linked John Bolton up to those guys? That's who you want to look at too. And if that's some of these Democrats, then
That's
by
big.
God, prosecute them.
Prosecutor. What countries do you think? Because I saw a video, and again, I've learned to, as my mom used to tell me, my late mom, don't believe anything you hear and less than half of what you see with your eyes because the world is that nutty. I did see a video. He was walking to Qatar back in 2009, and the video was insinuating that he has been doing this a long time. Do you sense that this is recent? Do you think this is a trail that goes back years before Trump into the Bush years? Because that would have been the time Obama was taken. Obama would have been in office at that point. And it fits your narrative, though, that this was he was not doing this for the Obama administration. He was working on John Bolton's dime. In other words, this was all about John Bolton. This was not about some kind of conspiracy to take down the government of the United States. But do you believe that he was involved with Qatar? What countries would you think he would have been selling these documents to? I mean, this is an opinion question because I think you said it right a while ago. A lot of this is early to speculate. This is strictly speculation. Yeah. At best, it's speculation. But in your expertise and opinion, what countries do you think maybe had their hand out looking for this?
Well, of course, I'd be most worried about the Chinese.
Absolutely.
They're certainly a world force to be reckoned with, and they have money. Qatar would be another country, absolutely, and they're in bed with some bad guys too. So I would be worried about that aspect of it too. And there's a lot of connections, economic connections to that area of the world. So all of those things could certainly be true. And he would be, he would be looking at somebody who had money to offer these things to, and he may look at it as services. He would probably be looking at it from his perspective as, well, I'm a foreign affairs expert, so I'll lend them, this, or I'll provide this information to you, my analysis, and here's what it costs, and and he would draw from stuff that's classified to make that opinion. So. That's probably what got him in trouble, is trying to do some sort of commercial arrangement, which would be heavily documented, by the way.
Absolutely.
Which that gets his ass in trouble. Now, as to when it began, you mentioned that as well. My take on it, and I have very little evidence of this, but my take on that would be that he got into trouble when he got fired. Because prior to that, he was in the Bush. Yeah, he was in the Bush organization. Yes. He was an insider. He had no reason to turn elsewhere until after he got fired. Once he got fired, I think a lot of people looked at him and said, John Dipstick, why did you fight everybody over everything? That's not how government works. You're an a-hole and got nailed for it. And, I don't know if we want to deal with you. I think he had pushback in that way. So he had to expand his horizons. And since he became so anti-Trump, who did he jump in bed with? Yeah, there's some liberal Republicans, but it was mainly the Democrats and those guys, that he jumped in bed with to be anti-Trump. And, you sleep with the dogs, you're going to wake up with fleas, and I think that's what happened.
I hadn't heard the term dipstick since my late father. That was his affectionate term for us boys. He used to always call us dipsticks, so I'm glad that, you've got that in your vocabulary, too. That brought back fond memories of the days growing up as a McDonald boy. But, no, you're right. What is your take on the media's perspective of this tonight that is claiming that, again, this is retribution, this is Trump being a dictator, Trump's taking political, he's settling political scores, as if the Democrats have not been doing this forever. It's only amazing that they get upset about this stuff and cry wolf and cry the sky's falling and the democracy's dead and we've got Nazism and we've got Nazi Germany. When it happens to them, Johnson, they can dish this stuff out, but they can't take it. A bunch of wussies.
Yeah.
Are they not?
They are a bunch of wussies, yeah. Politicians in general tend to be wussies, but yeah, Democrats are criminal wussies, I think. I think it's a criminal conspiracy, basically.
No, I'm with you, man.
A Democrat criticizing Trump, Oh my
I know.
God, that's so
Exactly.
8 years ago. Who cares? I mean, oh God, he's a Nazi. He's this. He's that. It's so and he scratches his head, and they're gonna, you're trying to destroy the environment, and whatever. They'll criticize him for anything they can think of. So it's just what they came up with. It doesn't work. It's stupid. Let them keep doing it because all they're doing is hurting themselves. So fine, he's a Nazi. Blah 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 blah. I think it's completely insignificant. I think it's uh, just tears in the ocean. It just makes no difference whatsoever to anybody. Completely insignificant. Trump just is able to hold them off because he's not a politician. He doesn't get embarrassed by that stuff because he basically knows what he's doing. So he's up to the challenge of those guys and the press and the academia and the Democrat Party and a sizable chunk of the Republican Party and all the rest of the federal government. They can't take him out.
No, they can't, buddy. Well, now, on that same vein of thought, I want to ask your opinion. You are in the general area of Washington, that area up in that part of the country. What do you believe? How do you feel about the crackdown on the crime? They've gone 13 days, my friend, 13, in Washington, D.C. without a murder. That is biblical Red Sea parting miracle stuff. And the Dems hell will freeze over before they give Trump credit for that. But it seems that the crackdown by the National Guard and having those National Guard troops in the city, Brad, has helped quelch crime. I was reading a report the other day. I think it's 46% decrease in assaults, 22% decrease in violent crimes, 30% decrease in robberies and thefts. I mean, we've had the Department of Homeland Security head, Kristi Noem's purse snatched from a Washington restaurant. We've had reporters assaulted. We've had attempted rapes, attempted kidnappings, attempted carjackings. And it just seems that it's safe to walk down the streets of Washington, D.C. again. But my bigger question is this. If this goes beyond D.C. to Chicago and St. Louis and perhaps Baltimore, L.A., New York City, with Brandon Johnson's already out there threatening Trump tonight, Plitzker of Illinois doing the same thing. I mean, it just makes the Dems look stupid when they say stuff like, well, a bigger police force is not going to quelch crime, when it's showing us that it will. And then you've got Brandon Johnson tonight, the brilliant mayor, and I put that in quotation, saying, are you ready for this one? He said, we can't incarcerate crime off the streets. And basically what he's saying is we just let the criminals go and we educate the criminals and we rehabilitate them while they're killing, raping, maiming, assaulting, stealing, and destroying our cities and burning cities down. But if we put them in jail, that's not going to stop crime. Yeah, it will. Oh, yeah, it will. It's not going to stop it all, but absolutely. I tell you what, it'll take the criminals off the street, will it not? What do you think about the D.C. thing? I think it's brilliant. I've been all for it.
Agreed, and I think it's brilliant politically too. And let me say, I am indeed in the general area of the swamp, and there's a lot of areas where it would not be safe to wander around. There's neighborhoods, and now where does the majority of the crime take place? The majority of the crime takes place in black neighborhoods, and of course, who's the majority of the citizenry of Washington D.C.? It's black population. And who are the criminals? By and large, it's blacks. So it's black on black crime in black neighborhoods. So who is the beneficiary of all of this? And it's those black neighborhoods. And I have seen time after time after time, those people, they're the ones who get out and go on TV, just, Joe citizens standing on the corner going, they're getting rid of the police. They're the only things keeping us safe. And that's the people talking. So how much of the vote will Trump win of the black vote out of Washington, D.C. by doing this? And I think it's going to be a sizable chunk. I think people are going to start to see, I haven't been robbed. Nobody's been killed. The crime is, all he has to do if he can keep this up is he can say, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? To steal a line from President Reagan. And if the crime has been at that low rate for all that period of time, all of those guys are going to look at it and go, hell yes, what have the Democrats ever done for us? You've seen a lot of black votes already defect to the Republican, to President Trump. And I think he's going to be able to pull that off in D.C. And I think that he probably will be able to get into Chicago, too. Maybe some other cities. But if he can get into those core black Democrat voting cities and fix stuff, he's going to win some votes.
Game over. Absolutely.
Now, Rudy Giuliani's famous for a lot of other stuff now, but let's not forget, he was in New York as a Republican, and he did a lot to fight crime and was very popular.
Broke the bomb.
And a Republican. And so it can be done. We know it can be done because it's been done before. So I think it's brilliant politically in that sense, and I think it's the right thing to do. And, let's not forget, D.C. has been rife with corruption since the day it was born.
Marion Barry, absolutely, buddy.
Yeah, Marion Barry, which for those people that don't remember, Marion Barry was the mayor of D.C. and was filmed smoking crack, and they couldn't convict him with a local jury of smoking crack, even though they filmed him doing it. And he was going, oh yeah, good shit, man.
I'm sorry. I laugh about that to this day. That it's pretty bad, man, when the jury's watching you snuff white stuff up your nose, and they're saying, no, that wasn't cocaine. That was those what do you call those things we used to eat as kids? The powder, the Pez, or I don't know what you call them. But that wasn't powder. That was candy. That was candy. He was sniffing up his nose, but only in D.C. But let me ask you this: a legal question, and this one you may not. You can just an opinion more than anything else. Where does he stand constitutionally on this? Do you think that look, the judges are already out there tonight. All these rogue judges are still sticking their middle finger at the Supreme Court. Supreme Court came out today and told these judges in the lower court, said, what we said earlier is what we mean. You're misrepresenting our rulings, and we're going to slap you down again if you keep doing this. We're going to step in. But do you think that he is going to have a legal battle constitutionally? Because that's what the Dems are framing the argument right now, that this is totalitarianism, and we don't need the troops in these cities. And Brad, I'll tell you, yeah, we do. But the only concern I have, it will set a precedent for future presidents, and we may not have, let me change that. We're not going to have a Trump ever again, unless we're just totally blessed by a country, because look, even if it's a Republican the next time, Republicans are not, I don't know anybody that can replete this energy that this man has got at 78, 79 years old. I don't know anybody that will ever see this again. We're blessed to be living in it. We better enjoy it while it lasts. We better be grateful to God every day while it's happening. But it can set a precedent for evil men to do something the other way with it too. That's my only slight concern. But is he on constitutionally safe grounds doing what he's doing?
I think so. I mean, certainly not my area of expertise, but there are two sides to the question. Will he have a legal battle? Absolutely. There isn't anything he can do without having a legal battle. But constitutionally, is he on solid ground? I think so. I don't think there's anyone doing honest analysis who is just looking at the law as a lawyer that really, would look at it and go, I know he's down. No chance he's going to be able to continue to do this. They're making arguments that he shouldn't be able to do it for X, Y, and Z. But everybody else out there is going, a weak argument. Don't think that'll fly. But you could make the argument. Law is kind of like that too. I mean, it's not necessarily black and white in such a way, but the predominance of what's out there certainly looks like constitutionally he's safe. But these judges are going to continue to try and take swipes at him whenever they can, and it's about time the Supreme Court stood up and did something useful.
I'll agree.
So I'm glad to see that.
I'll agree. No, they got to step in, because even, look, this Amel Garcia Abrego guy, he should already be in Uganda tonight. I've actually been to Uganda. He should already be there tonight. And this Obama judge yesterday said, well, we're going to keep him in Virginia till Friday. She's blocked them from deporting him, when this guy is a trafficker, Brad. He was trafficking kids. He was trafficking women, raping women, carrying kids in the floorboard, beating the blank out of his wife. drugs, fentanyl, meth, he's an MS-13 gang member, but this Obama judge says that he's due a hearing on whether he's an MS-13 gang member. I think they've already adjudicated this in the courts only 3 times, and this is the kind of rogue judiciary that's got to be addressed at some point, and I just hope somebody has got the kahunas to do it. The Congress could step into this situation because those judges in the lower levels get their power from Congress. Most people may not realize that, but Congress can recall these federal judges on the lower end of the totem pole, not the Supreme Court, because that's an executive branch, but somebody's going to have to step up and say this, enough is enough, and I don't see that happening. What's your thoughts on that real quick? We're going to take some, let me say this. Folks, if you got a question for Brad on the topic, be putting those in there. We're going to ask him a few questions. We don't want to keep him past his bedtime because his milk and cookies will get cold if we keep him too late tonight and Elvis fall asleep in the background. But what's your thoughts on the legal stuff? Because something's got to be done about that, doesn't it?
It would be nice to be able to do that stuff, but getting rid of a judge is tough. I mean, I'm not really thinking of like municipal judges or something, and they get elected every year. I'm not, or 4 years or 5 years, whatever it is. Not talking about those sorts of guys, but at the state level, senior judges at the state level basically have to be impeached like federal judges do. Impeachment is hard. You can impeach in Congress just like you impeach a president. Everybody's watched those fiascos lately, so they understand the basic process. But the impeachment of a judge is quite similar. Federal judges would have to be done at Congress and the Senate, and state-level judges would have to be done in the legislature. So if you have one of these crazy left-wing activist judges who doesn't care what the law is and just wants to do whatever they think is politically right, the only way to get rid of them is to impeach them through the legislature of that state. So if it's a Democrat-controlled legislature, it ain't going to happen, folks.
That's so true.
If it's a Republican-controlled one, then maybe it would happen. But a lot of Republicans are liberal. They don't like doing stuff like that. So defectors is going to be a problem. I would say if you had a 60 or 65% majority in the legislature for Republicans, you could take a shot at doing some impeachments. If you don't, if you've got like a 52% majority or something, I don't think you could get it through. I just think your defectors would kill you.
I know. Are you? What did you think about his ruling yesterday, executive order, I should say, that you get a year in jail, $500 fine, or $5,000 fine, $500 fine for burning the flag? Are you good with that?
Well, when a flag is damaged, first of all, the correct way to get rid of it is to burn it. I mean, you fold it and you treat it respectfully, but the way that flags are destroyed at the end of the day, if they become worn out and all of that, is to burn them. That's not an act of disrespect. I think if they're rioting out on the streets and are burning flags, that's sort of different. So I don't know how this will be, framed and all of that stuff, but I don't know. I mean, I would rather see them go after other things than burning the flag. Like, for example, a lot of these riots that we see are paid for.
Yes.
So why not go after where the money is coming from?
Yes.
And sue them for criminal damage to whatever gets beat up in these riots. That would be the way I would like to see them go after this. But burning the flag, I mean, yeah, it's okay. I don't know.
It's funny.
I'm a patriot on this stuff.
I'm honestly with you, and when I heard about this yesterday, I felt the same thing, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't like our flag being burned, so I don't want it to get out there that Chris is okay with people burning flags. I'm not. I think it's very disrespectful. But I think Trump's intent was about the riot, and he even made that part of the executive order. And he said these things incite riots. When people do this, it incites riots, and that is where he's targeting, because it is always when you start trying to enforce the clampdown on expression, Brad, in our country. And look, we live in a First Amendment country. We live in a freedom of speech. We live in a country that, we're free. And I'm not saying it's right. It's like Johnny Cash said. You've got a right to burn the flag, but I got a right to beat your blank for burning the flag. I've got the right to do that too. And so I get it. I get both sides of this. I'm with you. I think that that energy needs to be spent on taking the money down behind the scenes. And I'm with you 1,000%. Folks, if you got a question, we got Brad here for a few more minutes. I'm going to take a few questions. Letitia James, Lisa Cook, and Adam Schiff all have one thing in common. Two of them married their relatives. Letitia married her brother, and Ilhan Omar married... No, Letitia married her father. Ilhan Omar married her brother. These Dems must have an incest thing going on. But in this trio person, Trump fired Lisa Cook yesterday. It's all about mortgage fraud. And it sort of reminds me of the Al Capone thing. Al Capone never got convicted of RICOing and conspiracy and gangster and killing people. Al Capone went down for tax evasion. And I think it's brilliant that they're going after these corrupt politicians on these mortgage applications. And it makes you wonder if this was the plan all along, because they know that if it looks like they're going after them for subverting the government of the United States of America, that's a harder sell. But if Letitia James and Adam Schiff, I understand he got a 3% mortgage on both residents, and the reason he did it, he lied on that application about his residence in the primary state. It's just a simple matter of telling people you live in California, Adam, and you're buying a house in Virginia. It's no big deal. Just tell the truth. But he didn't, and it cost the companies. It is karma, though, because this is exactly what Letitia James did to Trump, and that $456 million will never see the Treasury of New York. The judge struck it down. The court struck it down. And it is payback. And payback is a witch. It is a witch, Johnson. What's your thoughts on all that tonight? And Lisa Cook on the Fed, she's gone for the same exact thing, the exact same thing. What is it going on with these Dems?
The use of mortgages for corrupt purposes is an ancient, habit that you see out of kind of the dark side of society. It's something that's manipulated and used by power brokers quite a little bit. So I'm not surprised to see corruption in that area. And of course, as you're alluding to there, that's one of the things they went after Trump for with the banks, even though the banks said, wait a minute, there was nothing wrong with any of this. And, the way, and what they're saying that Trump did wrong was he lied on his application.
Right.
And what they're saying, what they're saying he lied about was that he exaggerated the value of things so that his net worth would be higher. But, prove he was wrong, and nobody got hurt because he paid off the mortgages and did everything he was supposed to do. These guys run off with the money.
That's exactly
and they're getting
right.
Sweetheart deals. This guy, Trump, just did it. He got the mortgages out of the bank and did what he was supposed to do, built the building and rented it out and made money, and everybody went home happy. So there was no victim. There was no real crime there. But these guys, see, they're doing a lot of other stuff. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it, because what he's doing is basically turning it around on them, using the same, level of judgment, but shining a light on them, and they cannot stand up to that scrutiny. And I would say, a lot of guys have gotten in a lot of trouble with Democrats over the years for precisely that sort of thing, and just doing whatever they can do to make money. Problem is, these guys get away with it so often. They think they can do it with impunity, and mortgages is one of the easy ways to do it. So I'm very happy to see it done. Is it retribution? Yeah, but turnabout is fair play, right? And the same sunshine should shine on both dogs' tails. So if he's getting judged for those things, they should get judged for those things. So I think it's crocodile tears on their part. I say go after them. Absolutely. Yeah, go after them.
Speaking of that, where do you think this Russia hoax stuff's going from here? And I'm gonna let you go. We got about 5 more minutes. And where do you think the next domino is going to fall? Where do you think they're going after next with this? And I'm going to ask you about Russia and Ukraine, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay. Hard to say who would be after next. I don't have any predictions in that area. And particularly right now is because of John Bolton. I mean, nobody predicted John Bolton was going to get raided on Friday, except for insiders that already knew. But where it leads, who's going to pop next, I just don't know. But I mean, the way that it should be working is that they go after some guy that got absolutely by the balls, complete proof of guilt. but who's a mid-sized fish, and go to him and say, okay, you're going to jail for the rest of your life, and you're going to be Bubba's bitch in jail, or, behind curtain B, you tell everything and you're still going to jail, put in a resort jail where you've got, beach nearby and all that. So, they'll flip these guys. That's what should happen. I think the investigation's going forward. They've said it is. I believe them now, and I think that it'll unfold in time.
You just answered Liz Goldman's question because she asked, "Do you think he's going to prison, or are they going to give him immunity to sing on the higher fish?" And I guess that remains to be seen. But you just answered a question without me having to ask it to you, Liz. We got your question. It's a good take. Real quick, 2 minutes. Does Trump get Russia and Ukraine to the table and stop this needless, mindless war that has cost over 1 million lives, Brad? Where does this thing end with Russia and Ukraine?
Well, as Yoda once said, difficult to so that I guess is my sort of answer, if you don't mind my imitation of Yoda. But if anybody could do it, I think it's going to be Trump. He's the man that can negotiate stuff like that. He's the art of the deal, all of that. If anybody can do it, it's him. If he can't do it, probably nobody could do it. I think it's possible. I mean, the criticisms that John Bolton has are not misplaced. I mean, they both disagree precisely on what they want and their justification for it and all of that. So they're entrenched in their positions. What can Trump do? And, I don't know. I think he could. I think he has a chance of doing it because he doesn't look at it as a sort of closed room. He looks at Putin as this whole deal of stuff out there. Well, what if we develop the Crimea for you and put, development in that area and open up blah, 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 and Russia's going to make, $1 billion a month out of that or something. He can do deals like that. He likes to throw in that sort of stuff. Would that work with Putin? Putin's got trouble. There's money problems there and things like that. So could it be done? I would say maybe.
Okay.
Probability, probably less than 50-50 shot at getting it done. The majority probably, not going to get it happen. But like I said, if anybody will get it done, it's Mr. Trump.
I'll agree, buddy. Buddy, it's been such a pleasure having you tonight. I'm sure I'll get you back on again soon. Hope to see you soon in person, of course. And I'm with you. I didn't see Bolton being the first domino to fall. I was expecting something else, but that should let us know that something's going on behind the scenes that they can't tell us. They're not going to tell us. And I think we just need to be patient. Let this work itself out. The wheels of justice go slow, but at least they're going at a pace, and I think that we're going to be hopefully pleasantly surprised. I'm going to let you make a prediction, 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely, 1 being the less. Convicting them, indicting them is one thing. How many of these, what's the percentage that anybody sees really jail time for any of this?
Including the Russia hoax and all that stuff, I would... Oh, God, I don't know. Probably 50-50, probably a 5.
That's about where I'm at. I'm at. I think it's a roll of the dice. If they can't convict Marion Barry of smoking cocaine and sniffing cocaine up his nose on a video, man, this is going to be a hard sell. I'm just saying, man. But I think one thing that's interesting is that they're trying to get, I did hear from several sources and watching the news, that they're trying to get these grand juries seated in places outside of D.C., which is necessary. If there's any hope of justice, that's got to happen. They have got to get these grand juries seated. And one of the things that them screwed up on was going after him in Mar-a-Lago, because Mar-a-Lago means that they can seat something in Florida, because what they did in Mar-a-Lago was tied to all the hoax and all this stuff, trying to get information away from him for the Russia stuff. So anyway, buddy, good stuff tonight as always. I appreciate you. And intelreform.org is your website, and I will see you again soon. Thank you for answering the call tonight, and salute to Elvis in the background. Tell him, I'll see him soon. I'll bring him a steak and bring you one too, and we'll see. We'll go from there. All right.
Yeah, I want to cook this time though.
Okay, whoops.
No more raw steak.
You just busted my reputation about how I take my friends out to dinner, Johnson. That's not good. Love you, buddy. God bless, friend. We'll see you soon, man. Brad Johnson, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Put some fire in that house for him tonight. We're grateful to see Brad. And I'll pop up here. There we go. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. All righty. What a good...
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. It is elementary, my dear Watson. We are good. Zella, I didn't see your question until he had already signed off. You're asking what's the tensions with the U.S. and the Venezuelans and Maduro. They're high. I heard tonight that Trump is sending Navy warships down to the Venezuelan coast tonight, the Department of Defense is, with nuclear subs. And, they put a bounty over his head. And if I was Vincent Maduro, I'd be sleeping with both eyes open. I just put it like this. I've got a feeling that all this clone talk that we heard from the Q people all these years, I've got a feeling that he's probably calling these Q folks up and seeing if they got the number to the people that are doing the cloning they claimed that everybody was doing, because he's probably getting a clone, somebody lookalike, to sit in these meetings. He's probably got a wine taster. He's got a food taster. He's probably sending 6 people out to his car to turn the ignition on to make sure it ain't wired. I'm not making fun of the situation, but Vincent Maduro, he ticked off the wrong amigo. These nations are going to find out. They're finding out the hard way. They're not dealing with Joe Biden anymore. So to answer your question, on a scale of 1 to 10, tensions are pretty high, Zella. Tensions are pretty high, and they're going to get higher. Good to see you tonight, and good to see all the folks in the house tonight, and so forth. All righty, let's see here. Now, look, we're not even done yet, folks. We got a we got another show coming, and they're going to get higher. And yet, folks, we got we got another show coming, and hang on just a second. I'm having problems with the audio. Trying to mute the tab here. Hang on. One second. I want to get over to our Facebook audience. Let me mute the tab and do this. There we go. And well, where's my chat gone? I don't see my chat. Okay. All righty. Well, I tell you what, we'll do it this way. We'll come over here. I don't know what's causing that. But anyway, we're grateful for everybody, and we're going to be back here tonight. Now, listen, we got a very special news show coming up. We're not sure. We were thinking we're going to have Branko tonight, but don't look like he's going to be able to make it. But we got a very special guest that's going to call in tonight, and we'll be doing this around 11 o'clock. And you just got to come back and be with us. I'm not going to tell you who it is right now. But we do have a very, very special guest to talk to us tonight. And we want you to come back and be with us around 11 or so, 10:30 or 11 on a late show. We're so grateful you're with us. And we thank you for being with us on a McFiles Tuesday night. We have been enjoying this run. Man, the summer is about done. And we're going to be getting back to the fall, and I just sense a lot of stuff's going to happen in the fall as we get into the end of the year. Summer is, the summer's been a little rough. I tell you, I think I've talked to a lot of people, and the summer's been rough on a lot of folks. It's been rough physically, it's been rough financially, it's been rough spiritually. And I think all of us, we woke up this morning here, and we had temperatures in the 50s, and it felt good. It walked outside, and it felt good. That cool air is going to get cool here tonight, and in the mountains, and I'm grateful for it, and I know you are too. But good to see Natalie Taylor in the house. Nat, good to see you tonight. And but anyway, it's good to see everybody. Thanks, Brad Johnson, for being with us, and we'll probably play that interview again tomorrow on the radio. James Akers may be with us tonight. Thursday night, we're going to have Bill Federer with us. You don't want to miss this show with Bill Federer Thursday night. He's going to talk about Labor Day, but Bill's going to be talking about the descent into communism by the Democrat Party. And he's going to give you historical background of why the Democrats have wound up as the Communist Party they have. And it's going to be very intriguing. We did the interview today, and it was riveting stuff like it always is with him. And you don't want to miss that. And Friday night, it's Labor Day weekend. We're not sure what we're going to do Friday night, but we'll be somewhere. Listen, if I don't see you tonight, if you don't get back tonight, join us in the morning on the McFiles Faith Network for the Bible study. Join us back here tomorrow night for the Faith Show on Wednesday night. And then at 8, and then Thursday with Bill Federer. And then we'll see where we're at over the weekend. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Good to see some faces in there we hadn't seen. We want to welcome you to the McFiles. Be sure to subscribe to our channels on the Telegram, the YouTube, Facebook, and so forth. And until at 11, we bid you adieu for now. And put some fire again in that house for Brad Johnson if you enjoyed him. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed, and I hope to see you back here later with our special guest and a news wrap-up. Until then, have a good one.